Well, hi there. I'm Rebecca from Learn Flute Online, where I help people just like you of all ages play the flute beautifully with clarity and confidence right from the comfort of home. Now, in today's episode, we're answering a very popular question, which is the real differences between beginner flutes versus professional flutes. Now, you've probably seen flutes ranging from a few $100s all the way into the many, many thousands, and you might be wondering, well, what is the difference? And is really the difference that big? Does it matter? Well, yes, today I'm going to walk you through exactly why it matters, especially if you're just starting or you're beginning to maybe outgrow your first flute. So let's get started.
You can do it, and Rebecca will show you how, step by step all along the way. Introducing the Learn Flute Podcast.
So what makes a flute a beginner flute? Well, let's begin with the beginner flute first here, sometimes called a student flute. And these are the flutes most people start with, especially if they're newer to the instrument or even returning after many years. Now, beginner flutes are designed with one main goal in mind, and that's to help you get started easily and affordably. And that means that they're built to be more lightweight and a little bit more simple to play without all the extra bells and whistles that can sometimes get in the way of learning. Now, what are they made of? Most beginner flutes are made from nickel, which is a nice resilient metal. And there's an alloy, many different kinds of metals sometimes wrapped in there. And then they're plated with silver to give them that shiny, bright look that you probably associate a concert flute or a classical flute, right? And so you'll find typically a few key features also on a beginner flute. Closed hole keys. Now, these are the solid keys with no open centers, and they make it easier to seal each note completely with your fingers. Just kind of puts it down without having to finger placement exactly perfectly, which is especially helpful when you're learning the basics. Now, offset G is another feature. This simply means that the left hand ring finger key is slightly off to it's kind of like down farther, a little easier to reach, more comfortable hand positioning. It's better for smaller or even less experienced hands for sure. And nowadays, many professionals are moving back to offset G flutes because it's just more ergonomically friendly. Okay, the next thing that's more common on a beginner flute is a C foot joint. This is the shorter foot of the flute, which limits the lowest note to the middle C. Actually, it keeps the instrument lighter and easier to balance when you're holding it. Now, beginner flutes are almost always factory made, which means they're mass produced using machines. That helps keep the cost low. And it's usually, well, it depends on what kind of a student or beginner flute you find. There are some Amazon brands that are like $100 or even less. And then there are some quality brands and models that range between, $300 to about $1,000 range. And that's in USD. And honestly, they're quite amazing for the price. I've seen some beginner models that sound surprisingly good and are perfectly suited for learning everything from your first note to more advanced and beginner level pieces. Okay, that being said, these flutes aren't really designed to last forever. They really are kind of a stepping stone. They're designed to help you build foundational skills like tone, breathing, finger placement, and music reading. As your ears develop and your technique grows, you might start to notice some limitations of a beginner flute. But for someone just getting started, they are perfect, like a perfect companion. They're reliable, they're more forgiving, and they're a great way to build confidence without feeling overwhelmed as well. So if you're listening today and you're playing on a beginner flute, just know that you're in the right place and you don't need anything fancy to start sounding great. What matters most is how you use it and the guidance you have along the way. I can definitely help you with that. In this next section, we're going to talk about how professional flutes differ and why those features become important as you grow as a musician and as a flute player. What is a professional flute and who is it for? And now that we've talked about what makes a beginner flute special, let's look at the other end of the flute family, which is the professional line of flutes. Now, these are instruments that are basically built for more serious players, I guess you could say, whether that means an advanced student or a music major, a private teacher, a professional performer, or someone who just wants to have lots of room to grow. And the difference isn't just the price tag. It's in how these flutes feel, sound, and respond to the player, but it really all depends on your skills. We'll talk more about that. So what makes the flute a professional line flute? So let's start with the materials. Unlike beginner flutes, which are made of nickel and usually just silver plated, professional line flutes are usually made with sterling silver, more solid silver, sometimes even gold or platinum, especially in the head joint or even the lip plate. And we're not just talking about just the head joint though, because some professional flutes are solid silver from all the way from the top all the way to the bottom, and these metals are heavier. You can choose a regular wall or even a heavy wall flute, and the heavy wall flutes are definitely a lot heavier, but they also add depth, warmth, and volume and complexity to the sound. So the head joint, let's talk about that for just 1 second because that's a big deal. It's where all our sound comes from, right? Most pro flutes come with head joints that are either handmade or finely hand finished. The cut and the shape of the head joint is and really does have a big impact on tone, and it will be up to the player to decide if that head joint fits them or not. With a professional flute, you'll find that your sound has more possibility for resonance and clarity, and subtle changes in your embouchure and air direction can create really beautiful expressive results as well, should you have the skills to do that. You'll also notice a shift in the mechanics of the flute. Professional flutes oftentimes have open hole keys, which allows more flexibility with some fun things that you can do in jazz and some tone colors and some modern day music. There's advanced techniques like glissandos and little tiny microtones, and well, sky's the limit as far as the flute goes. Now we also have inline or offset G key options depending on your personal hand shape and preferences. You can order a professional line flute in either inline or offset G. I suggest offset G because most people's hands, third finger on the left hand is usually shorter than that middle one, so offset is more ergonomically friendly. And we also have a B foot joint most often on a professional line flute, but you can again order a C foot. Nowadays it's becoming a little bit more common to hear of people being able to order those, but it is definitely more rare and they're harder to get. A B foot extends your range, your lower range, by 1 note. And really, it doesn't really make too much a difference other than that. It does make it a little bit heavier, but it's not a huge difference. And sometimes you'll see extra add-ons like the C sharp trill key or D sharp roller. There's some extra roller bars at the bottom. We have some really cool new features on flutes that are being invented all the time that really help the advancing flutist. These things can help with more advanced pieces, tricky passages, things that need to be played faster, more smoothly. All right, so here's another key difference between beginner flutes and professional flutes, and that is craftsmanship. Beginner flutes are machine made, as I mentioned, but professional flutes are oftentimes hand assembled or fully handmade even, with precision work on every tone, hole, the pads, the springs, everything. This all results in a flute that feels much smoother to play, responds more quickly, and can hold up better over years of serious use. So let's talk about now, who is a professional flute for? Well, if you are someone who's already developed good control and tone, and you're starting to feel like your flute is kind of holding you back, or you're having to work harder than necessary to get a clear sound, and you've already taken your flute to see if it just needs a minor adjustment or anything taken care of, you just feel like the flute is not cutting it anymore, won't let you go fast enough, well, then a professional flute or an upper level flute, especially advanced line or professional line, flute might be exactly what you need to move forward. If you have started in the student level and you are thinking of going into the intermediate level, that also is great. So here's the order of flutes. It goes beginner, which is a student model flute, then intermediate, and sometimes these are called step-up flutes, and then we have the advanced line flutes, and then ending in a professional line flute, and then beyond. And past that, they're very decorative, and we can talk about those another day. But today we're just kind of going with the difference between beginner flute all the way into professional flute. So the flute might be exactly what you need to move forward if you have feeling like if you've outgrown what you've been playing already. It's not just a fancier flute, it's actually an instrument that works with you and not against you. So that's the good thing, because you get to take all the skills that you've learned and play on a flute that can do it for you. And that's really fun. Now, also, if you feel like you have the budget for it and you would like to get an upper level flute or a professional line flute to grow into, it's just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's just a great idea. When my students upgrade, they almost always say something like, I didn't know that it could be this easy to sound good. I'm so excited. And that's the beauty of playing a higher level instrument. It unlocks more of what you're capable of musically, and it often sparks a whole new level of motivation. Now, of course, professional flutes are more expensive, often ranging from anywhere from about $4,500 up to like $20,000 USD and more, depending on the brand and the options. They are built to last more of a lifetime than your student model flutes, depending on how it's taken care of course. And many flute players purchase one really good flute and play it for a very long time, decades even. So if you're not quite ready for a full jump to a professional flute, there are some great intermediate options and advanced line options too, which borrow features from both worlds, the student level and the professional level. Now, in this next segment, we're going to talk about how to compare beginner flutes and professional flutes side by side, even if you can't really see them in front of you, since this is a podcast episode today, so you can understand which features matter the most at your stage. Okay, so now let's dive into a really useful part of this conversation, which is a side-by-side comparison of beginner flutes versus professional flute. And I'm going to walk you through each category one at a time with simple explanations so that you can easily imagine the differences. This will help you understand where you are right now, I guess we could say, in your flute journey and where you might be headed next. So let's begin with materials, what the flutes are actually made out of. Now, as I mentioned before quickly, beginner flutes are usually made from nickel or an alloy, which is like a mix of metals. They're pretty strong and very lightweight, and they're coated with silver plating. It helps them look shiny, prevents them from looking terrible. Terrible meaning lots of tarnish, but that can still happen if the flute's not taken care of. But the tone can be kind of limited. It's kind of like coloring with only a few crayons, they're really good. But professional flutes, on the other hand, are made of that more solid silver, the sterling silver, and even gold or platinum, and certain metals that are more, I guess we can call them precious metals, that give the flutes either a brighter, a deeper, a warmer, more colorful sound, depending on what it's made out of. And we'll get into these differences in other podcast episodes or other videos that you find from me at Learn Flute Online, and also inside the members area, where we are learning it all and having so much fun. So think of it like switching from kind of like a black and white photo to maybe a more full color photo. Depending on your skills, your sound really can open up and become easier to express yourself musically. I think you can enjoy looking forward to that over time of your journey as a musician. So let's talk next about key design. The keys. Beginner flutes usually come with those offset G keys, which I had mentioned, which are ergonomically friendly and help your fingers feel more natural as you're learning. Professional flutes offer more choices. Some come with offset, some have inline G, which kind of keeps the keys more aligned and balanced for players with different hand shapes, I guess you can say. Different age groups need different things. Pro flutes almost always have open hole keys by default, but you can order them with closed if you can find one. It's a lot more difficult to find them nowadays, and you do not have to worry about if you have an open hole flute. If you want it closed hole, just keep the plugs in. It's not a problem. It's not going to cause any damage or any troubles with your technique as you learn. Okay? So what is right for you? Well, that depends on where you are at right now and what you want from your flute. If you're still working on the tone basics and learning fingerings, your beginner flute is doing its job. But if you're feeling like it's holding you back, you can't go quickly, you can't get a deeper sound, you can't get the volume you want, if you are having troubles with response, clarity, control, then it might be time to step into a world of upper level or professional flutes. And if you're in between, it's okay. There are some wonderful intermediate flutes out there that kind of bridge the gap beautifully. In this next segment, I'm going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions about upgrading your flute. So if you've ever wondered about buying used or how long a beginner flute really lasts, keep listening. So, should I upgrade my flute as I improve? Well, the answer is yes, absolutely. If you can manage it, you definitely should. Upgrading your flute is like upgrading your voice. As your skills grow, your instrument really needs to keep up with you. If you've been playing for a while and things are starting to feel harder than they should, like you're blowing a lot of air but the sound is still weaker than you want, or it's really squeaking a lot, as you're trying to get the fullness to come out, if your notes don't respond quickly, if your fingers are moving faster than your keys will go, then it's probably time your flute is holding you back. A professional or even just an intermediate flute can make things a lot easier, not harder. Tone becomes richer, articulation becomes quicker, and you may even feel more motivated to practice just because it sounds better. And when your instrument becomes a better partner, your music life feels more exciting. All right, the question is, can I buy a used professional flute? Well, the answer is yes, and this can actually be a decent way to stretch your budget and still get a quality instrument. But I also want to give the little caution that just because professional flutes are built to last, it doesn't mean that the person who had it before you cared for it well. And so even though it says it's a higher level flute or even a professional line flute, it could be in terrible shape. And so we have to get that out there and make sure that you understand that a beautiful instrument also needs to be beautifully cared for. And just be sure that you have it checked over by a qualified flute technician. Pads, springs, adjustments, everything needs to be in great shape to make the flute truly playable no matter what the level is. And I usually recommend brand new flutes to advancing students. You're going to get a better bang for your buck, and you'll know how it's been taken care of. All right, another question I have here that I've been asked is, how long does a beginner flute last? Well, this is a great question. The answer might surprise you, because with proper care, even a beginner flute can last for decades. The key is maintenance, regular cleanings, and I mean like every single time you play it. Regular, proper storage in the case, every day in the case, okay, except for when you're playing it, and yearly checkups with a real technician. Okay, we love our band teachers, but really having your flute go to a trained flute technician will do wonders for you and the lifespan of your instruments. That said, most players outgrow their beginner flute before it wears out if you're studying and really learning from a trained method. So while your flute might still be functioning, it might not give you the tone, the feel, or the response, or the power that you want as you become a more skilled player. So the real question isn't, is it broken? It's, is it still helping me grow? Want even more guidance on when and how to upgrade? Well, I have an entire lesson in my gold level course and in the intermediate and the advanced level here at Learn Flute Online that members get access to when they join, and we can learn even more about this. I teach you how to properly care for your instruments, and I can help you also upgrade your flute and get the right thing for you. Check out all of these details by making sure that you've become a member. Get all the info at learnfluteonline.com. All right, so let's go into some tips for choosing the right flute. Now, whether you're buying your very first flute or thinking about moving to a professional model, choosing the right flute can feel overwhelming at first. But with just a little clarity, it becomes a really exciting step in your musical journey. Here are some tips to help you choose the flute that fits you best. So the first thing we want to do is set our budget. I had mentioned before the range. Beginner flutes usually range between, well, Amazon brands are like even less than $100, and quality student beginner flutes usually go up to about $1,000, while professional flutes range well up to $20,000 and beyond. So that's a big range, I know. And we do not have to go all the way to the top there to get what you want. Most professionals are playing on flutes that are anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000 very comfortably. And I know that's a really big range. So what you're working with will help you narrow your options. Now remember, price does not always equal perfect because there are incredible flutes in every price tier for you. And it's all about finding one that fits you, your playing level, has room to grow, and feels really, really nice to you. It's like the magic wand. It just, you just will know when one fits you. So let's talk about that. You'll know that one fits you because it's important for you to try before you buy. If you're already a flute player that has enough skills under their belt, each flute feels and sounds a little different. Even two models from the exact same brand can surprise you. Two models and makes two of the exact same flute can be different because, as I had mentioned, the mechanism and who takes care of the flute or who sets it up, it's just slightly different, especially in these upper level flutes. These professional line flutes are handmade or hand tweaked and we can feel differences. So remember that. So if possible, it's good to try different flutes in person. Now I do have a full module on how to test flutes when you're testing to buy, and I can take you through different things from which notes to play, like what to play, what exercises to play, how to make sure things feel comfortable, what to listen for, and how the flute responds in certain situations like dynamic ranges or your fades or different octave testings. And then you'll be able to trust your ears and your instincts after I show you what to play. And also, as I mentioned, ask me for help, okay? If you're already an inside member of my Learn Flute Online community, you can ask me questions directly and even go through my special module and mini course that I just mentioned. I have all about how to test a new flute specifically and help you learn all about the features of upgraded flutes. So if you're feeling curious or even unsure and want to learn a little bit more about these special features on a flute, I do have a page on learnfluteonline.com called How to Choose a Flute. Just go to learnfluteonline.com/how to choose a flute. And that page will walk you through all of the different features and just kind of help you have more information and get you grounded on what you're looking for and what is available. And it's perfect for beginners and advancing students alike. So whether you're holding a shiny beginner flute right now, or dreaming of stepping into the world of professional models, or somewhere in between, remember your flute should match your current goals and inspire your growth, because we want you to grow. Now, this decision isn't going to be about status or price. It's going to be about your flute journey, where you're going. We want the ability to have expression, comfort, motivation, And if your current flute makes you really excited to play, then you're on the right track. And when the day comes that you're ready for something more, it'll be one of the most thrilling upgrades you'll ever make. So if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you'd share it with a fellow flute player or leave a quick review. It helps more flutists like you discover helpful guidance on their journey. You can find all the links mentioned today at learnfluteonline.com. And if you're ready to take the next step, I would love to see you inside the members area where the real magic happens. Until next time, keep playing, keep growing, and enjoy every note. Bye now.
Thanks for listening today. Remember that this is where people of all ages, such as you, can come, learn, and play the musical instrument flute in an easy-to-follow, organized manner, and in the privacy and comfort of your own home, on your own schedule.